Let's start with what I think is the most noteworthy, at least on social media, and that's the beef between Ty Gibbs and Joey Logano.
Yeah, man, this thing is got Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain's written all over it, right? I mean, it's just brewing, and it just keeps going, and the two just keep going at it. I don't know. It's my job here to be as unbiased as I can, right? And I feel like I give all drivers fair shakes. It's a little bit different with Ty because, he is a teammate. He's someone that travels with me weekly. But also I'm not, I will not be afraid to call a spade if I see Ty doing something that is blatantly wrong. Where I can find, where's a little bit different in this is that I don't know all the facts. Like I talked to Joey after the Martinsville incident, right? I talked to you guys on the show about, I couldn't understand what the hell Joey was doing. He crashed Ty for what it looked like no apparent reason, And he says, well, it's because he did this to me at Homestead, and then before that week it was something else. And then I asked Ty about it, and he's like, yeah, I did, but it's because he was trying to bully me around on the track back at, I don't know, Kansas. I don't know, I'm making up a track here. I don't know. And it seemed like this has just been brewing for a while, and they just can't get on the same page to call it good, right? I mean, and I understand that, right? I mean, me and Chastain went on for quite a while where we just could not see eye to eye. But this is just a unique situation for sure. And my unbiased opinion of what I know and the facts that I know is that I feel like how last season ended, Joey had the upper, the scales were tipped in Joey's favor in the sense that the last person that got wrecked was Ty. Ty got crashed at Martinsville, right? So, he was running third, minding his own business. I didn't see anything that Ty did at Martinsville that deserved him being punted into the corner and spun out, and then got, it crashed 4 or 5 cars pretty heavily in that. And Joey calls that. I mean, we can't argue that point whatsoever. And then going into this race, I tried to break down, and I actually asked you guys to help me as well. Like, help me find some footage of, like, when are these guys near each other? Like, what instigated Joey's
reaction,
anger and reaction afterwards to make it feel like he needed to go to Ty's hauler and confront him on this, right? And so I look at it from an unbiased perspective. Let me take the car out. Let me take my teammate out and everything. And I'm going to say that Ty didn't give Joey very much space. He ran him up the racetrack on that 10 to go restart, the one where I was able to take the lead because of it. Now, I definitely feel, as it very unbiased, that Ty did not intentionally do it. Ty is just trying to win his very first race.
Right.
And what we have seen in the past is that cars that overshoot the corner just a slight bit lock up a tire and they slide up the racetrack. I can guarantee you, had I been in Ty's position, I couldn't keep the front tires on when I wasn't beside anybody. I would have slid up into Joey or whoever it was on the outside as well. For some reason, I had locked up the tires once, and that was it. It just kept going and kept getting worse. So I think this was an absolutely inadvertent mistake on Ty's part. When I say mistake, he tried to turn. He tried to hold it low. I did see Joey crowd him. Joey left him no room on the actual racing surface. He made Ty, who is the control car. It is Ty's race to start and control. He left him no room on the entry of the corner. So when Ty goes in there on cold tires nonetheless, and it's 10, 15 laps before these things actually get up to speed, he didn't leave the young guy very much room for error, in my opinion. And there's an old saying in iRacing saying, if you pinch, you pay. And I'm not saying Joey pinched him, because I think that Joey was trying to crowd him and leave him no space whatsoever. And likely Joey's thought was that if he bangs up against my door, I'm still good. He loses rear traction, I'm going to clear him into turn 3. That's a good strategic thing that Joey is trying to do. But the negative to that is that when he did do that, and then Ty makes a mistake and he slides up slightly, shoves Joey up, boom, here comes the 12 car. The 12 car hits the 22 and knocks him up further out of the lane. And now the 22's lost the race because he's out. Like, he's just got knocked back so many positions, it's pretty much done at that point. So while the 54 definitely had its faults in this particular incident, I then go back and I looked at what happened previously in the race. And I saw on a restart, the 22 shoved the 54 up the racetrack, not as far, let's be factual, not nearly as far as what the 54 shoved the 22. Again, this was the middle of the race, so of course it's not going to be as far. But he definitely didn't hold his line either. And the 54 held the 22 as low in the corner as the 22 held him. Later that, he would have slid up further anyway. Because, again, when you force someone to run on the rumble strips, you're asking for trouble. You just are. You're asking for contact. And I think he wanted contact because it was going to break the momentum of the 54. He just didn't think that it was going to affect him as much as it did. And when the 54 ran him up, here comes the 12. 12 bumps him from behind. He lost not only front traction, but rear traction as well. So I thought that the 54 absolutely was, 80% at fault for the restart incident. Was it egregious? Absolutely not. He did not go in there and clean out the 22, in my opinion.
Right. Well, certainly Ty would have rather that not happen, because that opened the door for you to ultimately pass him.
No question, right? He was trying to hold the lowest line he could, because it did. It opened up the lane for me. And so, then this boils into, Joey wants to confront him afterwards. And, he came over to the 54. I actually applaud the crew guys on the 54 to just let them talk. Like, they didn't try to break it up. They didn't try to pull Joey away. Like, they let them have their moment. And you saw where Ty was, saying, hey, come on in the hauler. Let's do this privately. And Joey did not want to do it. He wanted to do it right there on the lift gate. And so that opened it up a little bit more. So do I think this was kind of a, I'm trying to scare you tactic? Yeah, probably. I just think that Ty wasn't going to take any, and you kind of heard it from his reaction that, like, so what? Go for it. Like, and that's just a dangerous game to play on both sides, right? Because your season hasn't even started, and you got two guys that are angry at each other. And again, when both of them are just fine wrecking each other, that's not going to be good for either one. So they got to get it worked out somehow. And, my advice, I actually said to Ty, and I said this on the podcast last year, my advice to Ty was that be the first one to extend the olive branch. If he doesn't pay back that, then it's free game, right? If you're the first one, if he comes and he catches you at the next race and you don't let him go and you just race the crap out of him, you better expect you're going to get knocked around, because you guys haven't settled it. And you haven't given him the opportunity. You haven't shown him that you're willing to give it a truce. But if you do that, and you do extend the olive branch, and you are the first one to make I'm not going to hold you up here. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. And that should be a token of, okay, you owe that back to me. I was the first to do it. Now it's your turn. That just hasn't happened between the two yet. And it probably needs to happen for them to get in a better place. I just think that they're not going to see eye to eye on this, because I think from Ty's perspective, he feels like Joey is trying to bully him around, and he's just not gonna take it. So, and Joey sees it as, I don't know. It's hard for me to see it how Joey sees it. I heard Joey's perspective when I talked to him last year, and I understood his perspective. I'm not saying that Joey's totally in the wrong here, because Ty acknowledged to me that he did some not great things to Joey for a couple races because of what Joey did to him previously. So they got to get it worked out, certainly. But certainly, if you look at the incident itself on the track, I personally put 80% blame on Ty, 20 on Joey for holding him down there. And then, again, I think Joey was trying to place a little bit too much blame on his result on the 54, where a little bit of blame could have been put on the 12 that knocked him fully out of the groove after the contact was made. So, I don't know. It's just everyone's going to have a different opinion of it. Joey has his own microphone, and later this week we'll hear what he has to say about it. And, I think everyone should just kind of, listen to it and hear what each side has to say about it. I think we know where Ty stands on it. Joey, did his interview as well. So they're both just upset with each other. They're going to race around each other quite a bit going forward. So they certainly got to work it out.
I hope they don't settle it,
I know.
honestly. Keep it
course.
going. This is the stuff we need.
Yeah.
This is the Clash doing its job too, reigniting some storylines from last year that we forgot about.
When you kind of digest this whole Chastain Larson thing, you definitely have to go back earlier